Thanks for downloading the Swearing In Podcast, where you'll hear the origin stories of those who chose to serve. So ground your gear, take a seat, and listen up. The Swearing In Podcast starts right now. Hello, America, and welcome to the Swearing In Podcast. I am your host, Marty Smith. I am joined today by retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Robert Cherry. Robert grew up in Orange County, California, and joined the Air Force in 1981 at 17 years old. He attended tech school at Chanute Air Force Base, Illinois, and his first assignment was to F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He moved from active duty to the reserves and deployed to Saudi Arabia in support of Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. After 33 years of service, Robert retired in 2014. So there's some background on Chief Cherry. Now, on with the interview. I'm sitting here today with Air Force retired Chief Master Sergeant Robert Cherry. I get it right that time?
Yes, sir.
Robert, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Marty.
Well, thanks for doing it. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. You were always number one when I thought of doing this podcast to get your story, even though I know some of the latter half part, but I don't know the early stuff. So, California guy, tell me what you were doing before you got in the military.
Well, let's say I was a senior in high school, getting to be ready senior in high school.
Any push from the military before this at all?
None whatsoever. I was the first one in my family to go in the military. And when I was thinking about it, a buddy of mine was going to do the Air Force instead of going to college. So I thought, hey, I can do that. I'll just go in the Air Force.
Yeah, because you get out and you're like, okay, what am I going to do? That whole last 6 months,
right.
Like, what the fuck am I going to do? Right?
So at the time, I was only 17. I'm sorry, I was 16.
Whoa, how'd that work?
Because my birthday's in October.
Oh, so you got pushed forward.
So I was 16, starting my senior year in high school. And then I turned 17 in October of that year. So when I graduated high school, I was 17.
So what part of California were you at?
So I was born in Santa Barbara. Parents split up and then ended up growing up down in Orange County, south of Los Angeles.
Wow, how stereotypical of all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So October 25th, I turned 17 in 1981. So 3 days after I turned 17, I enlisted, and my dad had to sign for me as my guard.
Right.
So I went to the recruiter with my buddy because we're going to do I think they call it the buddy program.
I don't know.
Where you go in with your buddy who brings you in. You go to basic together. They try to put you in tech school together.
Really?
So it's an easier transition. It's probably a recruiting tool.
That's actually pretty smart, really.
Except it to lie.
Oh, it is?
So me and my buddy, we both enlist. I'm sure the recruiter loved his numbers because he got 2 for 1.
Right.
Went through all that. He went into weapons, and they convinced me to go into weapons too, open electronics, because then I could actually pick my weapon system. So I said, sure, that's great.
ASVAB scores were all good to do that? No?
I guess. I was like a hair shy of retarded,
but they were taking everybody in the early 80s,
right? We go to the MEP station. I went through MEPs in Los Angeles. We had to go up there to do it.
How far away was it?
I don't know, 25 miles, 30 miles.
Did they bus you up there, or did you drive yourself?
Went in the back of the recruiter's car.
Oh,
they drove us there.
He was really desperate.
Went through all that testing, all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And what I thought was funny now, but wasn't funny back then, is you had E2s and E3s running the MEP center.
Oh, wow.
And they're yelling at you like they're drill sergeants.
And they're 19.
And they don't know anything. But
they know they got power over you.
Right. And you're like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
So I get in there, sign the contract. I'm going to go on open electronics. I'm still going to go to basic training with my friend. I'm still going to go to the same tech school.
Yeah.
And I'm dumb. I don't know. Okay, great.
Okay.
So my report no later than was July 12th. My buddy's was like June 25th.
Well, that doesn't match up.
So he was gone before me, obviously.
Cracks in the plan already.
Right. And remember, this is the days before cell phones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so I didn't get to talk to him, but I could talk to his mom. And his mom said, yeah, he's there. They shaved his head. They put him in, fatigues, because we wore fatigues back then.
Yeah, the pickle suits, right?
The pickle suits, yeah. You're pickled. Or no. Is it you're pickled then you're canned? I think you're pickled then canned. Canned means you have labels.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then when you walk by a new squadron, you can smell them because they smell like mothballs. Whatever they store that stuff in.
Yeah.
But I did, I finally did get to basic training, and I ran into my friend, and he was already in blues. So,
because he's 2-3 weeks ahead of you.
Yeah. They already think that they're better than you because I've got 2 or 3 weeks on. You know how that is, that whole hierarchy.
Oh, you're new.
You guys suck. And so anyway, I'm going through, trying to stay quiet. I was a pretty small guy, so I stayed in the back of the flight.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't make noise.
Don't bring attention to yourself.
Just do your stuff and you'll be fine. One day, I was coming out of the chow hall, and I hear that the taps, they have those taps on the bottom of their shoes,
yeah,
boots.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know what they wear those things for. Probably intimidation.
No.
They say it's to save their shoes because they walk so much.
Yeah, that's.
But I hear the clicking coming at me, or clicking coming, and they're yelling.
Yeah.
Until I found out it was me that they're coming for, and I had 3 TIs, 2 on each side and one in the middle with the brim of the bear hat in my nose.
Yes.
Because I didn't have my hat on.
Oh, jeez.
Which was a major...
They're just looking for somebody to...
Right. They're just eating my ass right there in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I sat there and listened to it and still didn't put my hat on. Didn't realize that it was me, even though they're yelling at me. So I put my hat on and I get back in formation and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I doing here?
Right. It's like, well, now...
I didn't ask.
Too late.
I asked for this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I said, well, I'm not going to do anything wrong. I'm going to sit in the back, mind my business. Then they found out I was in band and I knew how to march.
Oh.
Because they were trying to get people to go into the Air Force band or the band at Lackland.
Really?
Yeah, you do bullshit. You wouldn't do anything super fancy.
No.
It was supposed to be easier there because we had a talent. You could play an instrument, so they didn't really mess with you that much.
What'd you play?
I played trumpet we did the field exercises. And French horn during the wintertime.
So especially when you're that kind of marching, you're holding that whole upper body still.
Yeah.
It's harder, actually.
Yeah, so I knew how to march. So what that made them do is make me a guidon. Oh. Guidons are in the front. So I'm short. I'm not going to leave the little guys on the back because I can't go that fast anyway.
Oh, that's good.
Because the guys in the front are 6 foot or better.
Yeah, and they're always striding out.
And the guys in the back are running like...
That's why accordions, Yeah.
So there was no more of hiding anymore. So I had to go to the front of the flight. And, being out in front, I got yelled at quite a bit.
Of course. Of course.
But at my time at not Buckley, that's later on. At Basic, you get to go pick your jobs. Because remember, I came in open electronics.
Yeah.
So I go into this guy's office, slick sleeve, shaved head. I can't find my ass with both hands. Don't know what I'm doing. And I remember sitting down, and behind this guy's head on the wall is a map of the United States.
Oh.
And there's 6 thumbtacks in it. And I was like, hey, what are those thumbtacks for? He says, that's one of the bases you're going to. It was Minot, Malmstrom, Grand Forks, Ellsworth, Whiteman, and Vandenberg.
Jeez.
Those are all ICBM bases for all the big nukes.
Yeah.
I was like, well, no, I want to go to Europe.
Yeah.
They're like, nope, you're going to the missiles. Oh. Well, I set up electronics. I can pick what I want. And he flips the contract upside down so I could read it, or right side for me. And it says the mission needs to come first or some crazy shit.
Man. They got you good.
So my orders were to Minot, North Dakota.
from California
Yep.
to North Dakota.
So I was like, man, the Air Force is really hooking me up. First, you get your head shaved. You get yelled at for stupid shit. And then they're going to send you where you don't want to go. And you did it all voluntarily.
Yeah, good for you. Well done. Orange County to North Dakota.
So, fast forward to tech school.
Yeah, where's your tech school at?
It was in Rantoul, Illinois, Chanute Air Force Base.
Chanute's still around, right?
I believe it's closed for active duty. It might be reserve
is it?
base now.
Okay.
So that's the middle of nowhere, cornfields everywhere.
Really?
Champaign, Urbana, there's a college there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the name of the school is. But I was there for 6 months, doing all my training and all that kind of stuff. But while I was there...
6 months?
6
That's
months.
a long time.
This is where I actually found out I was going to go to mine, or I could switch and go somewhere else than Minot.
Oh.
So there's a guy in tech school with me. He's 2 weeks behind me.
Okay.
He has orders to go to FE Warren in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Why were they sticking all you guys into the missile bases?
The Cold War was alive and well in the early 80s.
I suppose.
Reagan was in office.
Yeah.
Flexing on Russia.
Yeah.
The USSR was still a thing. So he had orders to FE Warren in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I had orders to Minot, North Dakota. And his wife didn't like housing at FE Warren.
Oh.
Because they could have done a joint spouse, either gone to Minot or FE Warren, because she was active duty as well.
Okay.
Well, I said, well, I'll go to Wyoming. Wyoming, I've seen pictures. That place is beautiful.
Yeah, sure.
On the west side of Wyoming, it's beautiful. The only thing it had going for it, it was 40 miles north of Fort Collins.
Oh, that's true.
And maybe 100 miles north of Denver. And I'd been to Denver before.
Yeah.
Because I have family in Denver. So we went to the CBPO, which nowadays is called the MPF. It's the personnel flight.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to the clerk and said, hey, he wants to go to Minot and I want to go to FE Warren. And we had those huge rips.
Yeah.
The old computer days.
Right.
And all that guy did was take each of them and just switch them. There you go.
That was it.
That was it.
That was as official as it got.
Yep. It was no send in a message to FE Warren or Minot.
Make sure my records are adjusted.
Nope. Didn't matter.
Holy shit.
So
That's nuts.
So I get to Warren, and they think I'm this other guy. I don't remember his name. So I said, no, that's not me. We switched. All I did was cross out his name and write mine, and that was it.
That was as official
part
as
of
it
the
got.
squadron. And then they played catch-up after that.
Wow. I mean, that would be great if you could still do that cowboy stuff, you know?
Yeah. To me, it seemed easier.
Yeah.
But I guess there'd be drawbacks to that, too, because if you piss somebody off, they're like, oh, guess what? You're going to Thule, Greenland.
That's true. Here you go. I just wrote it.
It's in pencil. It's official.
Yeah, if you're subject to the guy sitting across the desk from you.
Right.
Might be a lot of bribing going on there, if that's the case.
There were people that were paying other people for orders to different places.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're coming out 81, right? 81 is when you joined?
I joined in 81, but I delayed enlistment. My first duty day was July 12th, 1982.
So you swore in 82. Or did you swear in when you signed the contract?
You swear in when you signed the contract. Okay. You swear in again. I think it's all just
either
smoke
that.
and mirrors.
The point being, the 70s Army was just terrible. I mean, the 70s military was, right? Mm-hmm. After Vietnam, and everybody hated it. And so you're joining that military with what nobody liked anymore.
Right. Well, the guys that were in charge then, say the TIs or the instructors, they were coming off the end of that. Yeah. And they decided they wanted to be in career guys.
Sure.
So they dealt with all that BS.
God bless. That's tip of the cap to come out of that really lousy period of time and still make it a career and retire out of that thing.
Yeah.
Without running for the hills. Just like, screw this, right?
Well, back in those days, in the 80s, you had SAC, which was Strategic Air Command.
Yeah.
Tactical Command, and then you had Mobile Air Command for MAC.
Yeah, I think so.
They used to say you can tell what group people in by their haircut.
Really?
Yeah, Sack had high and tights.
No kidding.
Tack had big old douchey mustaches because those are the fighter guys.
Sure.
And Mac, those guys had mullets because nobody gave a shit.
Because they're just transporting.
Yeah. And then we wore fatigues. Everybody wore just greens.
Yeah, yeah. So you get out to F.E. Warren.
So I get to F.E. Warren January of 83. So I get to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I think they just had a 2 or 3 foot snowstorm. Remember, I'm coming from California.
That's right.
I have clothes for California. In Cheyenne, the airport's so small, you get out of the airplane on the ramp. And you walk to the terminal.
Yeah.
And anybody that knows anything about Wyoming, it's windy. Every day, all day, all year. It doesn't matter. It's windy.
Right.
So my narrow ass, I probably weighed barely 100 pounds. I could hardly walk to the terminal. You know, and you're carrying everything you own.
Yeah, that's true.
And I remember the guy that picked me up.
And you just went up 5,000 feet in altitude, too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's lovely.
Yeah, I just thought, oh, my God, because I'm thinking Wyoming, Grand Tetons, these national parks, and Cheyenne is flat. You can see the Rockies down in Colorado, but there's not shit there.
No, not in Cheyenne.
Another one of those, what have I done?
You got to have some positive feedback here coming, right?
Yeah, I had good times there.
No, I know.
Once you get into the dorms,
right?
The camaraderie you build with guys in the dorms, they're in the same boat.
Yeah, when you all suffer.
Nobody I knew in the dorms was from Cheyenne. They were all from East Coast, West Coast.
Right.
I mean, I had friends from New York, Fort Lauderdale, guys that had the same kind of backgrounds I had.
Sure.
So we got along, and we made fun.
Well, and Wyoming, I think it was one of the last states to change the drinking age, so that kind of helped. Right?
Well, the thing back then, if you were on a military installation, you could drink at 18.
Oh, yeah, you could go to bowling alley. Right?
So, or the club. The clubs back then were hopping.
The E-Club.
Yes, the E-Club.
I think they made the biggest mistake on getting rid of the club system because every group had their place to go. Mm-hmm. E-Club, NCO Club, O Club, and you knew you weren't going to have some E5 walking in on what you were doing, and that was nice.
Yeah, you can act like an ass like everybody else and not get in trouble. But yeah, we used to, you could walk back to the dorm.
Yeah.
After you spent, 25 cents on a pitcher of beer.
Sure.
Because it was cheap.
It was awesome.
And then in Wyoming, and this was when I turned 19, you could go off base and drink.
Oh,
because legal
really?
age was 19.
Oh, okay.
And I say, drinking because in Wyoming, what else would I do?
Yeah.
I don't ride a horse or ride a bronc, so.
Well, and I think it's inherent in the young military anyway.
Yeah. We had some huge parties in the dorms.
Oh, my God.
We had some good times.
And that was back when it was still open. And even if you knew people off base, they could come in to see you.
Yeah, you had to sign them on.
Yeah.
There were guys that would bring girls on base.
Or they could go to the club.
Get them to the dorm. Or get them to the club, which would in turn get them into the dorms.
Right. So
you just wanted to be the first guy with that girl in that dorm. You don't want to be Eskimo brother with...
And she always tells you the first guy.
Yeah.
Of course.
Until your friend sees you with her.
Hey, you've been coming here for 3 years. How am I the first guy?
It's like that moped joke. You've heard the moped joke.
Tell me the moped joke.
Fat girls are like mopeds. They're fun to ride until your friends see you on one. And that happened a lot in Wyoming.
But you weren't, you may not have been as discerning at that point in time.
No, I had no filter. And
that's what made it fun.
Yeah. No moral compass to guide me.
All right. So how was who were you assigned to? Do you remember?
Missile Wing? I think it was a 91st Missile Wing or 90th Missile Wing? I'd have to look that up.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your daily duties then?
So I was what you call PMT, which is periodic maintenance team. So we'd go in on Monday. This was actually a pretty sweet schedule.
Really?
We'd go in on Monday. We drove a tractor trailer and a Suburban out to the sites because we'd go in Monday morning, shop day, set all of our gear, and we'd go out Tuesday morning and do maintenance on 2 silos.
So for those who don't know, like me, and I don't know if you can say it, I don't know if it's classified or not, but from main base proper, how far was the closest silo to you?
The closest one was maybe 20 miles, 30 miles.
20 miles, yeah.
The farthest one from that base was 125.
Oh, my God.
So FE Warren covers, and I'm sure this is open source, Wyoming, Nebraska into Colorado.
Oh, it does. I didn't realize it came down in Nebraska and Colorado.
200 silos operated at FE Warren. And each silo has to be a minimum, I believe, of 3 miles apart.
Okay.
So they're scattered everywhere. Unless you know what you're looking for, you won't see them.
Really?
Yeah. You can see some off I-25, some off Interstate 80.
Yeah. They're just kind of fenced, but still don't really know what to look for.
Right. They're fenced. They have no outbuildings. Everything's underground.
Oh, they don't?
Yeah. So we do that. We do 2 sites a week.
Okay.
So we come back Friday or Saturday sometimes.
Yeah.
We go back in on that Monday shop meeting, but then we're off the entire week.
Wow.
Because you're only going out with your crew.
Okay.
Now, during vacation, like Christmas time, summertime, you still go with your crew, but any crews that had people going on leave and all that, you'd have to backfill. So you could go 6, 8 weeks, having 1 day off a week.
What was the nature of the work? What were you doing?
So since I did power production, environmental controls, I worked on the diesel generators.
Oh, okay.
And then the environmental system for the silo and the support building.
Could you do that now? Do you remember any of it?
The basic stuff. Basic refrigeration, yeah.
Does that help you in the house at all?
Yeah, I still get shocked and I still mess up the...
Oh, yeah, don't touch that. I forgot.
So when I thought, wow, this could be a good job when I get out because I could work commercial.
Sure.
It wasn't the case when I first got out.
No.
When I got out the first time.
How come?
It wasn't...
Didn't translate?
Yeah, it didn't translate well because, the government buys equipment that's 20 years old by the time you work on it. So I did that job from 83 to July of 86. Just a maintainer.
Wow.
Back and forth to the field.
Yeah.
Shenanigans, in the dorms. I was taken in by the OSI a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. So the dorms, if you've ever been to FE Warren, they're dorms from the cavalry days. Their buildings are cavalry days. Big brick buildings.
Stilted.
To this day, it's a historic site. To
Really?
this day, those buildings are still there.
Huh.
Now, inside, they've remodeled them. But when I was in, because we work with nukes, we were what we call PRP, Personal
Reliability Program.
Yeah. So you had to have your own room for crew rest.
Oh, nice.
So we had our own rooms, but you had a latrine that was open to everybody. Sometimes you go down there and there'd be somebody's girlfriend in the shower and be like, who cares?
Right.
It was always something like that going on.
So when somebody's throwing up down there, you're just like,
everybody knows it.
Everybody can hear this.
Or you're cruising down the hall and some girl comes down the hall with the towel wrapped around her.
Yeah, it's great.
Nobody cares. Remember, as long as you're the first one, it doesn't matter to hit that.
Actually, as long as you think you're the first one.
Right. So this one night, drinking, I was on the first floor, so outside of my windows was this big patio area.
Okay.
Had my speakers in the window, the big speakers.
Yeah,
the days.
tower speakers, right?
I had my refrigerator full of beer. Everybody's partying. Well, in Colorado, or the eastern slope here, Front Range, it rains in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it started raining. Everybody piles into my room. They came through the window. They ran around, came through the door.
Shit.
Room's packed full of people. Next thing I know, there's 2 OSI agents in there. Whose room is this? And it's like, well, it's mine. You're coming in with us. We're not going to put you under arrest just yet. But those 2 girls over there, he pointed these 2 girls, were 17 or 18 years old. And they took me in for questioning.
Really?
Yeah, because I was going to get charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
God, I haven't heard that in a long time.
And the bad thing, because you hear stories like this about these girls on base.
Sure.
The 2 that were in my room was the base commander and the chief enlisted advisor.
Was their daughters?
Their daughters. I mean, they're teenagers.
Oh, my God.
So the OSI, they say, you know what? We're not going to give any names, The girls were taken home.
Yeah.
No questions asked to them. Just taken home. Hey, don't do this again. And I was told, you don't want to be guilty of this again, because I'm telling you, they were like, these guys will ruin you. You know,
yeah,
06 and E9.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't even girls I knew.
They were just in your room because everyone was in your room.
And a friend of mine that worked with me in the dorms, he knew him and he brought him in. But because I looked like I was 12 years old at the time, I had hair and none of it was gray. They asked me if I wanted to be an informant for them.
Whoa. Sounds like mob stuff.
Because across the street from our dorm was the roller rink.
Yeah.
And kids were getting alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
And they're like, you could go in there and nobody even know you're in the military. I wasn't even shaving at all. I shaved in basic to get the little swirly off my chin, the peach fuzz. But they wanted me to go in there and do that for them.
Wow.
And it could potentially turn into an OSI assignment. I said, that's not my style. And then a year or two later, it was hot, over 100 degrees. You wouldn't think Wyoming gets over 100 degrees, but it was hot. We were drunk, having a water fight. And you've probably heard of blanket parties.
Sure.
Someone that's not all squared away. Something usually happens to him.
Yes.
This particular guy, he'd go to the field with us. Remember, I said we were out in the field for a week, and he was a slob.
Oh, okay.
Shower. He's worthless technician. He shouldn't have been in the military.
Yeah.
Well, his windows were open. We had a lot of water. A lot of damage happened, allegedly. So the OSI brought me in again with these other guys and questioned all of us separately.
Wow.
Over the course of a couple weeks to see if somebody would rat somebody out.
Huh. Golly.
And we just said, we're having a water fight. His window may have been open.
That's crazy that OSI has the time to invest in that.
Because it was a vandalism. They weren't calling things hate crimes back then.
No.
But he got picked on a lot.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm trying to get it. We were all trying to get him out.
Sure.
He just didn't fit the mold.
Yeah, I hear
Nowadays, I think that's frowned upon.
It's incredibly hard, as you know, to get anybody out for any valid reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Too many people have feelings. So anyways, OSI asked me again if I wanted to be an informant for them because of my baby face.
That's so The Departed, man. That is so mob movie stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, it was like that, now that you think of it.
Yeah.
So I spent, I did my little over 3 years there, and then I came up when my date of separation was coming up. And you know how the Air Force, any branch says, hey, if you don't like your first AFSC or MOS, you can cross-train.
Okay.
At least that's what they told me. I don't know if the Army's that way, but that's what they told me.
Army at that time when I was in, cross-training wasn't really a thing.
Yeah. The Air Force would let you. If they put you in an assignment, you didn't care for it, you would have the opportunity to cross-train at the 3-year point.
That's pretty cool.
So,
Army was like, no, you're locked in.
But
tough. You can get out, but you can't cross-train.
Well, that's what they told me, and I was like, okay, I can suck this up for a few years.
Yeah.
So it comes time to look for an assignment to cross-train. Then I was told that the missile field was critically manned, and I couldn't cross-train. I'd have to stay. I said, well, how can I get out of it? Well, just let your enlistment expire. So that's what I did.
Well, that means you're out.
So July 12th of 1986 would have been my last day, but because of the holiday, the 4th of July and all that, I got out like the 3rd of July of 1986.
And that was it?
And that was it. I was done.
Any plan for what you were going to do, or just...
Well, the Air Force had pretty much bent me over.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not doing this. I'll go back to California. Well, while I was at FE1, in 1985, I got married. So now I have responsibilities.
Yeah.
No kids, just married. Get out to California. It's hard to find work. And I tried everything I could to get back in.
Oh, you did?
But because of the situation, you know how manning in the military goes up and down. It's a roller coaster.
Of course. Yeah.
They kick a bunch of people out, then they kick too many out, and they want more people to come in. So I had gotten out when they'd cut budgets for the military.
Oh, so they had a big reduction of force or RIF, right?
Exactly.
Ah.
So I went to the recruiter and I said, I can just go back into my old job. I still have my clearance. I'm already trained. And like, nope, you had your opportunity.
Wow.
And I said, you're going to take somebody right out of basic training, send them to tech school, and then send them into their permanent duty assignment. They said, yep, you got out. You're done.
But they didn't care because they're governed by numbers. And they're like,
all numbers.
Hey, we're good. We need to get rid of people.
Right.
Bring people in.
So I'd gone to a different recruiter. He said, hey, what do you think? What can I do? Well, you can go into the reserves. That might get you back in active duty.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in the reserves. Well, I ended up in a mobile aerial transport squadron. It's called MAPS, mobile aeroport, where you just do bare base deployments.
Oh.
Like you load all your gear in a C-130 and you go and you're it. And then you're there to retrieve all the gear and cargo that comes in for operations. What was your
AFSC at that time?
I was called a 605.
605. Did you have to? Was there a tech school for that, or
No, I just did on the job training. They're like, "What did you used to do?" I said, "Well, I was a technician. I did this and that." Oh, you don't need to go to school. Can you drive a forklift? I was like, "Yeah, I can drive a forklift."
Yeah.
So I did that, and we did airdrop missions, rigging parachutes.
Really? Where was this all at?
I did it in Riverside, California, March Air Force Base.
No kidding. March is not around anymore.
No, it's a bad area now.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know.
But because I did that for my reserve time, I got to travel the world. I went everywhere.
Really?
Just TDYs here and there doing exercises. And
oh, that's awesome.
You're 2 weeks a year.
Yeah.
Went all over the world. And that's how I went to Desert Shield and Storm, because we deployed to King Fahd Air Base with the 101st and 82nd.
Wow.
And we would forward deploy those guys.
Tell me about that. So you're doing 1 weekend a month.
Yep.
2 weeks a year. So you're just traditional reserve stuff.
I was a mailman and traditional reservist.
Oh, mailman.
Yeah.
Civil service can't get away from it,
yeah,
right?
I can't.
So Saddam goes, right? In what? September of 90?
August 2nd.
August, okay. Oh, wow. How do you know that date?
I don't know. It was August 2nd, 1990.
I knew it was around that time, right?
I could be wrong, but it was August of 90.
You're probably right. So he invades Kuwait. What's your unit do?
They, at the time, because everybody's kind of ramping up, they had the huge buildup. So our squadron, we had 150 people, I think, in our squadron. They said, hey, we'll do volunteers because we're not being activated by the president. We'll do volunteers.
Oh, that's true.
To start.
Okay.
So I volunteered.
Was it one of those cases where like everyone's hand went up, or was there somebody who's just like, nah, I don't need to go over there?
So I didn't know that until when it came time to actually call people.
Yeah.
So I get a phone call. Oh, and I didn't tell my wife that I volunteered. Why start some shit if you don't have the answer to it, right?
But you did it because it's in you.
Right, because that's what I signed up to do, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm sitting there. It's after Thanksgiving, and my wife and I are talking about getting a Christmas tree, because we always get the Christmas tree the weekend after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And where we're going to put it. And the phone rings. I pick it up. It's somebody from the squadron. Hey, you need to be here in 12 hours with all your gear.
Damn.
Well, now I have to tell my wife. Which turned into a big fucking fight. So trying to pack all my stuff while I'm being yelled at by my wife wasn't fun.
Now, wait a minute. I watched We Were Soldiers, and they were all supportive of them going off to war. And you're saying yours wasn't supportive of you going off to war?
No. We didn't even have kids. She was just pissed that I was leaving her. But she's a hypocrite because after I left, she was all about, my husband's deployed, yellow ribbons on everything.
Sure. That's easy to wear on the sleeve, yeah.
And for the record, she's now an ex-wife.
I'm leaving that in, so.
I think the call was around 8 o'clock at night. I had to be there by 8 a.m. the following day. And I get there.
Were you kind of excited? You had to be kind of excited.
Yeah, I was excited.
Right?
Nervous but excited.
Shit, yeah. I wanted to go. They wouldn't let us go.
We didn't even know where we were going. We didn't know, are we going to Iraq?
Yeah.
Kuwait?
Yeah.
Where are we going? So, and we didn't find out till we were wheels up. But that was almost a week later because we were leaving out of JFK.
Okay. Yeah. You had to get there. You had to train up. You had to process.
Yeah. So we haul ass. After I fought with my wife and said, hey, I'll just go now. Or you can just go in the morning. Because it's like an hour drive to the base.
Okay.
So she finally calms down. We get to the base. All ramped up, ready to go. And they're not ready for us yet.
Oh.
So they have to put us in a hotel. Which
nice.
meant 24 hours of dealing with my wife's shit.
Oh, no.
Because she's still nagging on me. But, answer to your question, out of these 150 people, there were 14 of us.
That's it?
That's the only people that volunteered.
That's surprising.
All those people that were in the reserves because they wanted to go to school and stuff, that's all they wanted.
You know, and it may not be surprising because I told you about when I was in and we were all like, yeah, let's go, right? And then we had to go train those National Guard guys up and we figured, hey, they're going to be just like us. And they were like, nope, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah.
The guy said they had a lieutenant and they were terrible. They were artillery, which is a perishable skill, you know, if you don't do it often enough. Mm-hmm. And they had this lieutenant, some captain, active duty captain was grilling him on something. And these guys were from Shreveport, I think. And he's like, the only thing I want to fight is Monday morning traffic. Like,
wow.
Well, shit, dude.
What are you doing
We're
here?
training up to fight. These guys so didn't want to be activated. And they were at Hood, and they were from Shreveport. So there was, I don't know, 50 of them who were like, fuck this. Because they were supposed to get like a 3-day weekend, but they were so bad. The commander was like, nope, we're chopping that. You'll get a day off, and then we're back on the field. So these guys, they all banded together, and they were like, let's go rent a bus and take it from Fort Hood, Texas, and drive us back to Shreveport. We're all going AWOL. Fuck it. Wow. And it all would have worked out, but they told every taxi driver that they took to go to the bus station, and somehow, I can't remember.
CID?
CID, yeah, that's it, CID. So somehow it got to them. So these guys called Fort Polk, and they sent agents up at the bus stop. So they took this 3-hour drive back to Shreveport. The bus pulls up, and they're like, get back on. They shipped them right back to Fort Hood. So it was not a case where, like, everybody was ready to go. A lot of them just were not. And those were the guys in the Guard and the reserves. And they were like, fuck that. I'm doing this 1 weekend a month. That's all I want to do.
Wow.
So it wasn't surprising that you're saying 14 out of 150.
Yeah. And when I showed up and the guys that were there, those were the guys I expected to be there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You just knew it.
Which is good because if you're going to go over there, you want trust and you want respect for the other guys you're over there with.
So after we left there, we went to Memphis, Tennessee. And we hooked up with a Guard unit, I think the 164th. They were 141, which they don't have anymore. C-141's the big, long cargo planes.
Yeah. Did they get rid of those? I didn't realize
they retired. They had,
okay.
It was a Vietnam era airplane.
But the 130 is still going?
Oh, yeah, it's a trash hauler. They're called trash haulers. They keep reinventing those things. So.
Yes, they do. What are they on the Mike variant now or something?
Yeah. We left there, we flew out of JFK, and we were wheels up in JFK, and they said, hey, we're going to Saudi Arabia. So we landed at King Fahd, which was an airport. They call it an air base. It was going to be King Fahd's airport.
Yeah.
Which, if you've been to Saudi Arabia, or in the kingdom anywhere, those guys spend tons of money on shit they don't need. Right. Gold, and it's just super
ridiculously
ornate.
lavish.
Yeah. So anytime you fly with the military overseas, you land somewhere in the middle of the dark. You have no idea where you are.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what you're doing. And someone meets us at the airplane. Everybody's got green bags. They throw your shit in the dirt, and they unload it out of the 747. Yeah. So we flew commercial contract.
Okay.
So you got 400 smelly dudes in an airplane. You all get out, you're tired, and they're like, go get your bags.
Well, where'd you go? Did you go JFK to what, Germany or something, and then or Italy, and then jump down to Middle East?
We stopped somewhere just for fuel. We couldn't get off the plane.
Yeah, right.
We had to stay on the plane. It might have been the Azores to go that far.
Wow!
I don't think we went in Germany,
but it wasn't straight. I mean, you were.
No, it wasn't straight.
Yeah.
That was so long ago.
It could have
been Frankfurt, for all I know.
When did they give you your desert uniforms?
Oh, we didn't have them when we got there.
Really?
We had BDUs.
Oh, no kidding.
And because of it's further into my time there, but
yeah,
Saddam Hussein was launching Scuds 2 or 3 a night.
Yeah.
So we just wore BDUs. We had no name tags or anything on them.
Oh, no kidding.
Because those charcoal suits.
The mop suits,
they fucked them up. We wore those for over a month.
Just, were you wearing the top and bottom?
Top and bottom. You had to carry your boots and all that stuff.
Right. And they gave you the masks and all that?
Yeah.
Oh. And those were, like I said to Scott Swick, because he was talking about that too. And I was like, those new ones had all that charcoal in them that just destroyed you.
It was in your skin. It was in everything.
And it was hot.
Yeah. When we fly there, we finally get all of our bags.
Yeah.
We get into this rickety old Haji bus. It's got like Manny Mo and Jack from Pet Boys threw up on it. It's got reflectors and all kinds of shit hanging off of it. We get to where we're going to stay. It's a tent city. We're walking down this path, and you see tents, and you're like, which one's ours?
Yeah.
And that goes, hey, there's your tent. It was rolled up. Oh, no. There were mallets and spikes, and they said, you guys need to set up your tents. And the cots are in that Connex box. And it's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Of course, it has to be in the middle of the night, right?
And we're setting up a tent in the dark. Everybody's pissed off, hungry, tired. And it looked like the next day when you looked at the tent, it was totally fucked up. We had to fix it. We were missing rods and.
Well, what month was this?
This was November. No, I got there in November.
Was it getting cold at that time?
It didn't feel cold to me.
Okay. So I remember December and January. I know those.
It's like the desert.
Guys.
The desert gets cold at night.
Yeah,
but we were working.
But the difference is because it gets so hot during the day, that temperature drop is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it was because we'd gone. We landed. We're in the middle of the night, so the temperature's probably in the 60s.
Okay,
it didn't feel too bad.
Oh, okay.
Well, we had heat and air for our tents.
Well, maybe
I remember it being that cold.
I don't know if the Army guys did.
Well, the 101st, 82nd, we're in a camp right next to ours.
Yeah,
and their camp looked really bad.
Yeah.
And we weren't allowed to mix. They weren't allowed on our camp. We weren't allowed to go on theirs.
Huh.
They didn't want the Army coming on ours because they saw how we were living.
Right.
We're Air Force. We had a gym tent.
They would have stolen your
theater
stuff.
tent.
Yeah.
Kitchen tent.
Oh,
we had everything.
Really?
Shower tents, which shower tents are shower tents in the field.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
When you get a 5-gallon water can, that's a big benefit. You were in Saudi? Did you stay in Saudi the whole time?
I stayed in Saudi the whole time. While I was there, when things were getting, things had started on January 16th of 91.
The air war?
Yeah, and they told us, hey, this is it.
Yeah.
We had to sleep in our chem suits, which was pretty scary. Holy shit. 4th largest army in the world.
That's what they kept saying. Yeah.
Just got done fighting with Iran for, I think, 8 years.
Republican Guard is elite.
Yeah. They were ready for everything.
Yeah. Did you get the sirens go off?
Oh, yeah.
They launched Scuds at you?
Not that night. As time went on,
after
everybody went in and blew everything away the first night, we saw everybody taking off.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And they're saying, okay, they're going to be there in target, and it was a quick flight. And be ready for something coming back.
Sure.
As it progressed, we were getting 2 to 3 launches. We had a Patriot battery. We had 2 flight lines. We had a heavy flight line and a fighter line.
Yeah.
And we had some Scuds land on the fighter ramp.
Oh, you did?
But they were hit. Like they were hit in midair.
The Patriots so they were inert by that time, right?
Well, they didn't know. So everybody's scrambling because there could be chemicals on them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
It was scary.
Yeah.
But because of the way I am, I'd come back. We'd be on the flight line working. We're doing engine running onloads. We're loading the 82nd and 101st.
Yeah.
Engines are running. You can't hear shit. You can kind of hear the squawk of the alarm. And then you'd listen. They're like, hey, red, and you hear the Patriots take off. Well, you got to run to your shelter.
Oh, shit.
And put all your gear on.
Really?
So I'd run, get in there, and it was like ants. over a carcass, just all over the place.
Yeah.
I grab my stuff and go back outside. I figure I was better outside by myself than with everybody else.
Sure.
And because the way our tent was positioned next to the ramp, it was probably 2 or 3 feet of concrete to get up to the ramp.
So you had a little buffer there.
So I just get up against the corner.
Yeah.
And I'd be by myself and just... Because I didn't want to be with... It was chaos. People were crying and... I don't know.
That piece of the unknown.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not 19 anymore, but still, nobody knew. I mean, that was our generation's kind of war, right? A big war. We didn't know.
Well, when we'd load 3 Humvees or 2 Humvees and 2 Howitzers on a 130.
Yeah.
That was the ramp. That would fill the plane.
Okay.
And the driver, and I don't know if they call the co-pilot or the guy that's flying or sitting shotgun.
Yeah.
They would sit in the vehicles. They would take off in the vehicles.
Really?
So when they hit the ramp, the loadmaster would pop the chains and they would drive off.
God.
And then the plane would take off.
Jesus.
So we're loading these guys.
Yeah.
And we're the last people they see. I mean, since I was small, I would do everything. I'd be underneath, pulling myself up the airplane, but underneath the Humvees, hooking them up.
Yeah.
And then I'd come out on top and I'd be usually standing on the hood. And the ramp's already up. And I'd say, hey, good luck, guys. And some of those guys would just be crying.
No shit.
Because when the ramp goes down, they're driving off into the unknown.
Wow, what a memory, right? When did it hit you? Did it hit you at that time? It was like, hey, these guys might not be coming back.
Yeah. Well, the Scud's coming in daily or nightly.
Yeah.
After a while. Not like I'm some hardened combat.
No, but you get a little immune to it.
But you get immune to it. And we did get a lot of immunity to it, the guys that work the ramp.
Yeah.
So we'd had these 747s coming in from Germany with all the Army. And these guys would land at night.
Yeah.
And we would pull, since we were doing the ramp, we would help them unload all their gear.
Okay.
We wouldn't unload their gear. There's just too much of it. We would direct them.
Yeah, right.
So I'd be at the bottom of the ramp. There was a lieutenant that I would work with, Army lieutenant. He would sit at the bottom of the staircase coming out of the airplane.
Yeah.
And grab all the privates. Like the first 20 privates that came off the plane.
Oh, yeah.
They were detailed to me.
Really?
And then I'd take them around and we'd put them up in the belly. Here's how you unload it and stack it on the K-loader. And when you're done, we'll pull away, we'll close the airplane up, and then you guys are released back to your group.
Okay.
So...
What rank were you at this time?
I was a staff sergeant.
Okay.
So we do that. But remember, the Scuds are launching almost nightly, 2 or 3.
Were they really?
Mm-hmm. So the alarms would go off. We would pull the equipment down. We'd tell the guys to get out of the belly.
Yeah.
We would button up the plane, pull the equipment away, and then we'd run.
Oh, really?
And we'd run and go get in the ditches with all of our gear on.
What were all those Army guys doing?
They're just standing there with their dicks in their hands.
Oh, shit.
They weren't allowed to put their gear on unless it was a confirmed chemical attack. So picture how the military flies you into a country in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You're totally clueless on where you are.
Yeah.
The guys that are on the ground when you get there, they all run.
Yeah. It's like, shouldn't we be doing something?
They close a plane and run. And you talk about scared. I felt sorry for these guys.
That's nuts.
And their senior NCOs are just like, quit being a bunch of fucking pussies.
Well,
they make them stand tall, waiting for the all clear.
Right.
And we're gone.
That's
and then
insane.
they get the all clear. You hear the Patriots go off, and you see something fly over. Then we go back to business.
I guess after a while, you just say, hey.
We'd say, you got to get back up in there and clean that out. That's all your gear.
Yeah.
And then the next one. A couple of times, because these are commercial pilots, they would freak out.
Oh, they would.
We had some guys.
That makes sense.
They went to Rome.
Really?
Because they're on the plane getting stuff up in the cab, up in where the passengers are.
Yeah.
And we button them up. They'd be up there. They'd pull the stair truck away, and they would take off. We'd see them like a day later, 2 days later.
Oh, God. Really?
Yeah. The cool thing is we got to know these crews.
Yeah.
And remember, there's no drinking in Saudi Arabia.
Of course not.
But all airplanes have alcohol in it.
It's an infidel.
They would hook us up. And we got to know the loadmasters coming out of Ramstein.
Oh, you did?
They had a cooler on their plane.
Yeah.
On their C5s.
Man, so those guys were just making constant trips.
They're doing a mission. Yeah.
Whoa.
We see the same guys.
Wow.
Throw them some money.
Yeah.
They'd say we're going to take a smoke break. We'd pull all the beers out of the cooler.
Nice.
Just chill and have some beers.
Well, and they could get you whatever you wanted, I suppose.
Yeah, and then we'd put the empties back in the cooler.
Yeah.
No evidence.
It's a pretty good little relationship.
Yeah. We had a pretty good hookup. Because we were on the ramp and we took all the cargo in, all the 82nd, 101st, all those guys.
Yeah.
To include their helicopters, all their vehicles. We brought all that in.
Wow.
So we'd get first dibs on anything that came through.
Oh, yeah?
Remember all the care packages that would come through?
Oh, no.
Walkmans, headphones.
Really?
We're like radar and MASH.
Yeah, I can see that.
We would go through, we had everything.
I was thinking more Pappy Boynton, maybe. You're bartering.
No, we didn't do anything. Well,
That's the way it works. That's the way the military works. When you're moving mass numbers, right?
so while I was at King Fahd, they needed volunteers to go over to the Saudi-Jordan border because Saddam was launching into Israel. But they were launching from that location around there. So me and this other guy volunteered, and we went to the other side of Saudi Arabia, and it was just the two of us, and everybody else was SAS SEALs.
Wow.
There's an A-10 squadron there, and it was this little airport.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I mean, it was really small.
Yeah.
But I met this SAS guy in the laundry. They had like a little laundry area.
Yeah.
He was from Seal Beach. He lived in Seal Beach, California.
No
His
way.
green card expired, so he had to go back to England.
Yeah.
And he got in the Army and ended up doing SAS, which is
Wow, that's a
Special Forces.
That's a small world.
These guys were so cool.
Yeah.
But we traded MREs because I was sick of you. That's all we ate was our MREs.
Yeah.
You can only mix and match so much.
And back during that time, those were the crappy MREs too.
So
with
we
switched. With the hot dogs and the white fat stuff or whatever the
ham
wieners
slice.
was.
Yeah, those are
the
good.
The ham slice, yeah. If you got the omelet, I thought the omelet was halfway decent actually.
So, I never, in all the MREs I never heated one of them. I ate them all cold.
Oh, you never did?
I'd save the MRE heat packs to make bombs.
Yeah, you were one of them. Yeah, those guys, every time one of those went off, it was a surprise. I don't know why it was.
Yeah, I did that too. Fast forward a number of years. We were at Westover, Mass for a 2-week, it wasn't a vacation, almost a vacation, deployment with 5 other flying wings.
Yeah.
We had the guys from Fort Drum there. They were our Op 4.
Oh, okay.
We got attacked every night. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
They shot us up every night.
I think that was 10th Mountain back then.
It was.
Fort Drum, yeah.
And even then, we had people hiding. They were afraid. I got killed every night. They tried to put me in the command section where I worked.
Yeah.
I was out there trying to get into it.
Yeah, right.
And I get killed almost every
Did they
night.
give you like the miles, the laser gear and all that stuff? Nice.
And then a little quick story on that is, since my commander was the highest ranking commander, and we flew our own C-130s, you've probably seen golf carts on the flight line?
Yeah, sure.
So he had his golf cart.
Oh.
We had an avalanche flag on it, Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
So it evolved into a capture the flag event every night. And these guys from 10th Mountain, that was their target every night.
Really?
We get painted up. We try to protect it.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, those guys got it. But we got to become really good friends with these guys.
That is badass. That is so fun.
Because Suzette was on that with me. So
really?
She worked in the ATOC, and then I was the chief enlisted guy with that commander. So they come and kidnap us during the day.
No, wait a minute. I think I've heard that kidnapping story. But where did you guys first meet, if you want to talk about that?
We met, so when I went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I was with the 37th Mobile Air Airport.
Okay.
Out of March.
Okay.
Then I moved to Colorado, and I was with the 39th APS with just Airport Squadron. They lost the mobility acronym, even though we still did it.
Yeah.
But that was out of Colorado Springs.
Okay.
I was at Peterson.
All right.
I met Suzette at Peterson.
Oh, okay.
She was in the airport.
Okay.
And she worked in ATOC, which was the Air Terminal Operations Center.
All right.
So they managed everybody. I was special handling. I did all the hazmat stuff.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
Oh, I didn't realize how that is how you guys came together.
So we went on to Westover. We were supposed to go to Ramstein, but I got killed.
Oh, it did?
So I had to go to Westover for an exercise.
Yeah.
Which was shitty because it's mass in the summer. It's full of mosquitoes.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
It was nasty. The Army being there was fun. We dug Hasties. We had listening posts, which I thought was fun, but the Air Force guys were like, no, this sucks. I'm not in the Army.
Yeah.
But that's all we lived on the flight line. Huh. We got attacked every night. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Did they give you blanks to shoot back and all that?
Yeah, we had all that stuff.
Good.
And they used one of the coolest things that happened, since I said we knew these guys.
Yeah.
They would say, hey, we got some surprises for you tonight. So
oh, shit.
We're in this bunker, and it had just a little tiny slit. Yeah. It was like buried, had like railroad ties.
Right.
That was our fortification. Right. I remember the bugs were really bad in there. Like, they're biting the shit out of us.
Yeah.
Even though we're covered in DEET.
Yeah. Yeah.
Government approved DEET.
Yeah. That stuff was burned.
So I remember they popped smoke.
Oh, they did.
And then they came in with M60s.
Oh,
and that flame would just.
Yeah.
And everybody's alarm, all of our gear was going off.
Right.
So they're like, you're dead. And I was like, you didn't. I hated that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they also had God guns. You know, the God gun, they just go click, click, you're done.
Yeah, that sucks.
But that was so cool.
It was fun.
They just blew through that smoke, and it looked like a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was intense because they were throwing concussion grenades.
When those things go off,
it was
especially in the middle of the night, that shocks the crap out of you. It really does.
They came through what they were saying on the news, like shock and awe. I mean, it was just like intense.
Yeah.
So they draw your attention, and then they'd come in and flank you and get our flag.
It's clever.
We got wise to them, though.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we were getting them.
Did you ever win?
Yeah, we did a couple nights.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That had to be a great
we killed the guys
celebration.
And we knew them all. It was so fun.
Yeah.
And they had cool gear. Like, they'd kidnap us, and they'd say, hey, you guys want to take our quads? And we'd go ripping around and stuff.
So, when did you change AFSCs? When did you go to 1 Charlie 6? Not that I don't want to track your 1 Charlie 6. I just want to go, what led you up to you going to do the AFSC change? So
with the deployment being an airport, a lot of opportunities came to travel around.
Yeah.
But then with the military being all over the world doing stuff, our squadron was getting tagged. Hey, we got this deployment coming up. We've got this.
Oh, now you're always going to be gone.
So Suzette and I were going to go to Jordan.
Oh.
But they never told us what we were going to be doing. It was a 7-person team. You're going to be handling a gear in Jordan.
Yeah.
That's all we knew.
Yeah.
Okay. So we took Kyler all the way to Alabama, enrolled her in school, put her with grandma, all that stuff, and then drove back to Colorado. Between driving back from Alabama to Colorado, they canceled everything.
Oh, jeez.
So go back out and get Kyler and then bring her. And it was an emotional thing for Kyler. I mean, was she in high school yet? She might have been end of middle school, beginning of high school.
Yeah.
But she was a mess.
Yeah.
Because her dad was deployed, and then her mom and I were going to be deployed. And it was freaking her out.
Right.
And that's the reason she went to grandma's, because her dad was gone too.
Yeah.
So we decided then we got to get out of the airport. We just can't do this.
Yeah, that's I didn't realize how mobile you guys really were.
We're a traditional reservist, but because of how we are wired, it's like they need people, we'll just do it. That's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
So we decided, hey, we need to do something else. Well, a friend of mine who was in the airport with me years before in Peterson, he ran into Greg Rattery.
Oh, really?
And Greg Rattery, who retired as a colonel, was a captain in that port in the 39th.
Oh, he was?
That's where I met him.
Huh.
And my friend Dan was a contractor who worked at Buckley and ran into him as a lieutenant colonel, 8 Swiss commander.
Huh.
And he goes, hey, guess who I ran into? We called him Rat.
Yeah.
We actually smuggled him into the enlisted club at Osan.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he had one of the guys didn't want to go, so we just used his ID.
Yeah.
So he went to the enlisted club with us, the Mustang Club at Osan. So I called him up, said, hey, Rat, this is Senior Cherry. I heard you're a commander in space, and we're looking to change.
Huh.
So he met me the next day at the Peterson Bowling Alley.
So you'd known him for several years up until this point.
I knew him for quite a while.
Okay.
So he met us at the bowling alley in Peterson, wanted to keep it low-key.
Yeah.
Interviewed me. Well, didn't really interview. We just kind of caught up.
Yeah.
So that's how we got into 8 Swiss. That's how we got to cross-train.
So you started off your career not really knowing if you made the right decision, right?
True statement.
And you were successful enough that you retired as a Chief Master Sergeant.
Yes.
So if anybody's listening to this podcast and was like, hey, what kind of advice can a Chief Master Sergeant retired give me? What would you say? Go back to you being 17. What would you tell a 17-year-old?
When I first came in, I wanted to be a chief. I did. I thought, oh, that'd be awesome.
Interesting.
But because of the path that the Air Force gave me, or didn't give me, when you're that young, you're like, hey, screw this. I'm not going to stick around.
Right. That would seem to be the natural response to that.
But I came back in because I didn't hate it that much.
Yeah.
And then I kind of found my groove.
Huh.
Once I got back in, I did Desert Shield and Storm. Eventually made Tech Sergeant. Then I came out to Peterson when I transferred.
Yeah.
I actually moved with my civilian job out to Colorado as a mailman.
Oh, you did?
Got into the aeroport at Peterson. Did that for a number of years. As a TR, made it to E8. Then I cross-trained into space, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
And while I was at Buckley, we got there December of 2002. I went on active duty orders in the summer of 2003.
Wow.
And I became an AGR in August of 2004.
Okay.
So once I became an AGR, I was like, well, I'm going to stay till the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I was commuting from the Springs. I was pretty much running things at Buckley now because I'm an active duty reservist.
Right.
Weekends I was in the training shop. And then that just evolved. And then I had to PCS down to Peterson, and I did space control at the 380 Space Control Squadron.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we got that billet turned into a chief's position, which I had to interview for my own job, which was rough. My first question was, what is the mission of the 380 Space Control Squadron?
Oh, hell.
And I choked, and I helped write it. I sat with Colonel Acid and wrote that. And I knew everybody on the panel. Troy Wiles was on the panel making jokes.
Oh, yeah.
But I put on chief.
Yeah.
And it felt really good to put on that last stripe. As you know, I'm not a big guy, and the stripes cover my whole arm. It put a little extra step in my stride, you know what I mean? And my wife was already a chief. It just felt really good.
Sure.
And then next thing you know, I'm coming up on higher tenure. 33 years is as long as you can do.
That's crazy.
So I was forced out.
That is crazy.
Tried to get an extension. That got declined. And I got out. Went my way.
Huh.
I enjoyed wearing the uniform, but today I'm glad I'm not wearing it anymore.
Yeah, it would be hard. It would be hard. And, I'm sure the World War II guys said that. The Vietnam guys said that. Every era has said that.
I'm now that guy back when I was in.
When I was going through.
I would say today's military, based on political climate and stuff, it's way different. I
think it felt like when I was in that I knew where the higher-ups were, and I felt like I was in line with those. That we're here for a purpose. Here's what we're going to do. They got my back.
Yeah.
It seems now maybe that's some of that's in doubt. I'm not sure if they do have your back. But you can't go into it with the same thinking that we went into it with.
No. I feel like when we were in, at least most of the leaders I had, if you stepped out of line and they jumped in your shit, it was forgotten. You were corrected.
Yeah, it was.
Move on.
It was on course correction. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's.
I think they might fry you.
Yeah, they'll fry you because I don't know if one of the leadership classes I had to do, it was the ALS or the NCO Academy.
Yeah.
The definition of Article 15 was corrective in nature.
I think that's what it was supposed to be, right?
Now it is. You're done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's too bad.
So times do change. People change. Political parties change.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it'll come back in line.
It's a wave. It goes up and down.
We'll see.
We've been, with the number of years that we were in, we've seen all sides of those waves.
I was lucky to survive that wave. I wouldn't survive this wave, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Robert, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for your story. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, Marty. Anytime.
On behalf of Chief Master Sergeant Retired Robert Cherry, I'd like to thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like or a comment and share the episode with someone else. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service origin stories. So until next time, on your feet, carry on!